Welcome to the Be Better broadcast. We have something special for you today. I am here with my business partner, Christine Smith from Team Elevate, from Ripple Effects, from Hanger Coworks. Like, what is there that she is not a partner or owner or anything in? And we're going to talk about something fun today. We're going to talk about what goes into creating and starting your own podcast, from the idea of what gear do you need, what software do you need, should you do it solo, should you have guests, what does the process look like, all of those fun things. And check it out, we're going to need your help. So if you want to know anything specific about starting your own podcast, go in the comments if you're watching live and let us know what you want to see, and we'll do our best to include it. If we end the broadcast and you have questions, post it, because maybe we'll do another one of these to go deeper into any one of the concepts or talk about things that we haven't talked about before. But Christine, it's awesome to have you here.
Thanks, Brandon.
You were like, hey, I have some questions for you. And I was like, well, you're the second person to ask me about something like this. And the first time I just hopped on a Zoom call. And after the Zoom call, I was like, we totally should have recorded this, because a lot of people ask these same questions. So even if one person takes away value from the questions that you have, it will be totally worth it doing it live together.
Yeah. Definitely.
So let me ask you this. Why do you want to know about starting a podcast? Tell me everything.
Where do I start? So, I mean, I've been on a lot of podcasts. Obviously, we did a podcast a while ago, and I've been a guest for years, and I've had a lot of people that have wanted me to start a podcast, and I said, it's not the time, and I'm not ready. And when I started building the co-working space that we just launched, it was, we wanted to make sure we had one there. And I was like, okay, once that's done, I'll start up, a podcast then. So now that's happening. And I'm like, okay, I'm totally in a paralysis state of what I need and trying to make sure it's going to work for what we want our members to experience. And I am the type of person that does a lot of research, but it's really hard to do research when there's so much information out there. I have been in a paralysis state, and I'm just like, I just can't deal with this right now. So I'm like, I probably start asking people like, hey, what are you using? And, for whatever reason, it never occurred to me to even mention it to you. And I was like, oh, duh. I should have just called Brandon a while ago. But.
Yeah, you've been on the show a long time ago. You were one of the first people on the broadcast, and we had a really good conversation on networking. So I know you plan to have a room inside of Hanger Coworks, which, by the way, everyone, it's now open for business. It's in Clifton Park, New York. So if you're local to the area, if you're a Rippler listening in right now, like, get yourself a co-working space there, because there's literally going to be a podcasting room. And your vision for this, you can, correct me if I'm wrong or add to it. Your vision is you literally want to have a room that's fully equipped, right? People can go in, they can record their episodes. You've got the gear, the equipment, and you'll have part of a team to help them to produce it. Or like, what do you want to have your own show as well as help others produce theirs? Is that the vision?
So Hanger Coworks is going to have its own show that I'll be the host of. And the goal of that piece, to kind of break that off from your second question, is I really want to talk about like everything in the professional world, but not all the good things. Like, I want to talk about the things that we have a really hard time with and what we struggle with. And I want to interview people who've been in business for forever, and let's talk about the dirty stuff. Let's talk about the stuff no one tells you when you're starting a business, because no one wants to tell you those things. It's like having a baby, right? Everyone tells you it's amazing. You never hear about the bad things unless you ask for it, right? But I think those bad things could offer really great perspective for people up and coming, or even people who've been in business and say, well, I didn't know about that. Oh, I didn't know you dealt with that too. And there's a lot of isolation that comes in building a business, and it really sucks that people feel that way. But I think bringing more of that community together could be solved by having those harder conversations, and not just talking about the lighter things all the time. So I really want to get, underneath the layers of business within that podcast. And I'm sure there'll be stuff that we talk about personal, like, how did you make it through in building a business because of all these things that happened to you, and how did you change your mindset and your habits and all that stuff. So the second part of your question was, our team would be helping to produce those things. So in Hanger Co-works, one of the benefits of being a part of our co-working space is the support system that's already in place. So we have one of our other suite members is Flake Creative, who I also do work for. We have a media team. And we already do podcasts and manage podcasts for clients currently. So if somebody comes in, they can just record. The idea is that they're going to be able to come into the space. If they don't even have a laptop, they can still get things done. They can record everything. We haven't quite fine-tuned if the process is it goes into the cloud and they get an email, or they can just use like a thumb drive and they can just put it in there and be done and you leave, right?
Yeah.
The other options that are going to be available is there's going to be options for like using OBS. So if any podcasters are familiar with OBS, it's essentially a program that you can kind of have everything ready to go. So if you do, live podcasts or just podcasts in general, you're not having to go back through and edit later, which saves a lot of time. And then even having a producer in the room with you to help you record, that'll be an option. And then we'll also have the option of editing podcasts for social media. So it could mean like your podcast itself is edited in the event that you don't, have an OBS account or you're not using ours. We might need to add your logo in, or we might need to add your name, or maybe you have, closed caption on. And then the other opportunity is for social and building reels and TikToks. So, one podcast, even if it's only 20 minutes, in theory, you could really get 10 to 15 really quick reels and TikToks and, YouTube shorts that can be trickled out for an entire month. There's a ton of material with that. So, but it takes time, right? It takes time to do those things. So, being able to have a team that's right on site, that has the capability to put those things together, and based on, we're going to have different packages for people. It's like, oh, you only want 4 reels, you want 10, you want 20, whatever.
Yeah.
We can have that available for them.
Sweet. I love that. That's going to be super cool, especially for the people who've wanted to podcast, but they don't necessarily want to get all the things together in order to do it. So I love that vision for what you're looking for. So, okay, very cool. So let's jump right into it. Just for everyone listening, this is not going to be like a step 1, 2, 3. This is more of like a Q&A, if anything. So it's going to be raw. It's going to be unscripted. So I guess my first question for you is where would you like to start? Like what are the top things that you want to know in regards to?
So here's where the paralysis has been, and I'm curious if other people have had this experience also. So we want to obviously record video and audio, or at least give people the option. But we're also trying to figure out, the recording software, right? Do we just have Zoom available? Do we use something else? Because I'm trying to go in with the mindset of somebody who isn't going to put the investment into the equipment, right? But we need to make sure we have quality equipment in the room, but I also don't want to break the bank, right? We can always invest in higher quality equipment later, but what is it that we can get away with that I know that people are going to get the quality that they deserve for, having coming in and using our space. And anything that we use out of that, it's going to be easy, from a later point if we're, editing that, or they're using it for socials, or, they're streaming it out to Anchor. Like everything is easy from that point. I don't want to have like a 50-point step that people have to manage, because it shouldn't be that way, right? I want to have clear instructions. If they were to go in the room and, one of us isn't there to help them just plug things in, they have the ability to do that. So that's kind of like where I'm going. Like, what are those things?
Okay, cool. So I think, well, let's tackle the first few things there. Let's talk about the equipment. Okay. Yeah. And I mean, literally for people listening, like you could use your phone. Like I know Russell Brunson from the Marketing Secrets podcast. He's a multi-millionaire. His company's worth over $1 billion, but he's still only uses his phone to record his podcast. He does it to prove a point of you don't need high equipment, and that's why he does it. I started with a Blue Yeti microphone, right? But if you're looking to have like a fully equipped space with like high-end professional gear, not necessarily the highest end stuff, like not even necessarily this microphone. Like I started with a Blue Yeti mic, and it's like $100 and something from Best Buy. It's really good microphone. I think, is that what you use right now, Christine?
I was like, I don't know what it is. It's a snowball ice. But it works. I mean, it works. Like, it has a little tripod. I can take it with me if I need to go places. I know we've made jokes about it.
It's that microphone we took that picture from, right? Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, anything will work. And it's literally a USB. It's plug and play. You plug it right into the computer.
It's a USB. And I mean, like, even the video I have. So the video recording device that I use is one that I got off Amazon. It has its own little ring light with it. Again, it's USB. I can plug it in anywhere. We talked about having like a ring light in the room. There's lights in the ceiling, which we weren't sure if it was going to be too bright for doing a podcast, but we want to give people the option, like, oh, you can just turn those off and just, have the ring light up. And we do have a TV on the wall too. So people kind of like how yours is right now, right? Like, you have to be better lit up in the back. We could have that on a TV, right? As an added benefit, you could, if you give us your logo in advance, we can make sure that it gets on the TV for you. Or if you wanted to show stuff in the background, you could. Kind of like when you have the flip chart open, right? You could just have it, on a TV if somebody wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a nice touch. So I started with the Blue Yeti microphone, and then I moved directly to this one because I found it on a garage sale site, and I was like, this is like the perfect opportunity to upgrade the microphone.
Mm-hmm.
When I got this one, though, one thing is I didn't realize that it wasn't just a direct USB plug-in. It's what do they call it? It's the kind where you have to plug it into an interface. So I have the mic, this is a Shure SM7B. So this is like the main microphone that a lot of the big podcasters use. Like, you'll see Jake Paul use it, you'll see Joe Rogan use it. A lot of people in the music industry use it. And this microphone, it's not too pricey. It's like, I think it's like $350 or $400 for one of these. But then you need an interface to plug it into, which I personally use. And I'll pull these things up here. Actually, let's do that now. I'm going to share my screen here. So this is the Shure SM7B. I would definitely recommend it for what you're looking to do, Christine, for sure. For those listening, I don't necessarily think you need this. So here it is. It's called a cardioid dynamic microphone. And yeah, so it's $399. You could probably find it used too. I mean, I bought this one used, which was kind of gross because I got it and it kind of smelled, the filter thing on the top kind of smelled like cigarette smoke.
Oh, that's
and
gross.
Yeah, it was very gross, but I bought a new filter and then it was good as new. So this is a really good microphone for that. If you are, and this could even work really well for you, if you're just looking for a really good microphone where you don't need to get the interface, which I will pull up, I'd recommend the Shure USB microphone. And I think it's called the M. Here it is. It's only $219, so it's almost a couple $100 less, but you don't need all the extra gear for it. It's called the Shure MV7 USB podcast microphone, and it sounds just as good as this. Like, if you're gonna like go deep into the specs on it, sure, it's a little bit different, but you can get it in different colors. And I feel like if I was starting it, I'd probably start with this, Christine, honestly, unless you have the expendable income where you're like, we'll just go all out right now and just get these. Because if you went for the SM7B, which is what this is, then you need this. Any like interface will work, but this is the one that I use personally. This is what a lot of podcasters use. It has 2 plugins, so it'd be enough for 2. If you wanted to use more than 2 microphones, you'd probably need either a bigger one or several of them. But you need this. You need an XLR cable. And that's pretty much it. The third thing that you need, though, because if you just have this microphone and this interface, this microphone requires ghost power. And I'm no like techie, so I can't like go into like why you need that. I just know that you do, and I tried it without it, and it's very quiet. You need something called a cloud lifter, something to boost the audio. So if you go to cloud lifter, I bought the most inexpensive one. I think it's this one right here. Yeah, it's this one. And you can get like a bundle of the cloud lifter with the 2 XLR cables that you need. But really, if you're going to get one of these or 2 of these, you're going to need the mic, you're going to need the interface, and you're going to need the cloud lifter. That's the downfall of getting an XLR mic. or again, just go for the Shure USB microphone.
So do you need one of those cloud things for each mic?
Great question. Let me see. Let me actually.
So I know we plan on having at least 2 mics in the room. I mean, a lot of the times, podcast interviews are not often with groups of people. So having just 2, I think, would be enough. And not everyone's necessarily going to do interviews where both people are in the podcast room. I mean, I plan to do that just because a lot of people I want to interview are local, but the ones that aren't, I'm only going to need to use one mic.
So let me show you this. You need one of the cloud lifters. So with each microphone, you can plug 2 microphones into this Focusrite Scarlett device. All right, 2 mics can plug into here. You got 1 XLR input, 2 XLR input. So if it was just a 2-person podcast, perfect. And you need 1 cloud lifter, which is that device. You need 1 cloud lifter per 2 microphones.
Okay.
Yep. So 1 will work for 2. If you had 4, then you just do the math. Yeah. Once it's set up, it's set up.
Right.
Like it was a lot to learn at first, but once it's done. And then I use one of the what brand is I really like this microphone boom. Let me see if I can get the mic on it. It's called Toner. So you can literally just go on Amazon and find this specific. Let's see here. Amazon Toner mic stand. It's like $20 for a good one. So just get a mic stand. This is the one that I use. Works really well. Clamps right to the desk. You'll have 2 of them. And then you've got your microphone.
Nice.
Yeah. Does that answer like the microphone question?
That answers the microphone question.
Do you think you're going to go with the USB or do you think you're going to go for the SM7B?
So I'm not the only one making these decisions.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to gather and funnel things down so that my partners can, be like, okay, yep, this is what we're doing. Because the other piece of it, right, is I'm trying to make this and no offense to anybody out there, but as stupid proof as possible because sometimes you just don't know, right? So I want people to be able to come in, record, get their material and leave, or leave their material if we're editing or whatever. And just be easy, right? I don't want this to be a 12-step process. I want it to be super not complicated. We've been going back and forth on having, if we want to have a laptop in the room so that no one even has to use their own laptop to prevent potential software issues. So if somebody's laptop isn't compatible with the speakers, so if we use the USB option, for example, right? If their laptop isn't compatible, well then, we're stuck, right? But if we have the laptop there, you literally don't have to bring anything, just whatever material you might need to memorize or, ask questions to whoever you might be interviewing or whatever.
Yep, absolutely. Cool. So that's the microphone. So you're also envisioning having it so it's an in-person interview with also video, which means you're going to have a camera of some sort to do that.
Right.
Okay, cool. So the camera I use, and there's so many different ones. I got my camera when I first started making YouTube videos. And it's one of the main cameras that a lot of the vloggers on YouTube make. A lot of people who do interviews use it too. It's the Canon EOS M50. It's like, you've probably heard of it. It's like one of the top cameras out there. It's actually the camera I'm using right now. And I use like a plugin so that I can use this camera as a webcam on my computer, which is cool. Canon does it. Sony does it. Nikon does it. Really, any camera is going to do this. But this one's just easy because it actually has a screen that flips out. You can see it right here. So that if you're filming yourself or making YouTube videos or something, then you have this flip out screen here that you can use and see yourself if you wanted to. So you get 2 of those, and then you just have your angles, obviously. Like James West, who I follow from Only, James, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he does this all the time. He's got his 2 cameras, and it looks like really professional with the in-person setup. But this is the camera that I highly recommend for people. It's a really good one. But there's so many different kinds of cameras. I use the lens that I'm using. Let's see if I can. I think it's this one. No, maybe not. It's a wide angle lens. There's only a few of them. This one comes with the zoom lens. I use the one that you can't zoom. It's just it's a wide angle shot. So once you look into the EOS M50, you'll be able to see it. Guys, for everyone listening, I'll include links to each of these things. Like, they're not affiliate links. Like, it's literally just going to be a link to buy it. It's not like Be Better code or anything like that. So is there anything specifically camera wise? Like, when I started, and I know you know this too, Christine, but people listening, I just used a simple Logitech webcam like this.
Yeah.
Like, this is like the best one that I'd recommend. I know yours, I think, has a ring light attached to it, like what you said, that you can get, which is cool. But just a simple webcam, guys, and a simple microphone, and you're in business. Like, what we're talking about really is the more advanced stuff. When you're actually in person, you want to use a nice camera, but you can go as simple as you want. Just like Shade said in the comments, keep it to the basics, keep it simple. So that's the microphone, camera. Do you want to talk about software now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What kind of software specifically would you like to know about? Because I'm thinking of several things. I'm thinking of, like, this right here. We're live, obviously, in StreamYard. Yeah. I use StreamYard for everything. Can you see people using StreamYard in that room, like if they're doing virtual interviews?
I think that's definitely something that's possible, right? Like, it's going to depend on the person, right? They might want to, do stuff that's live. I mean, I might do stuff that's live at some point. I don't know how many people are going to be doing that. I would like to, maybe have it as an option. So we have a main account that they can just go to, or they have to probably have their own account. I don't know. But for generally speaking, so let's, take the going live out of it, right? So a lot of people use Zoom, right? That's a very popular platform for people to do their podcasts on, especially if both people are not in the room. We talked about having like a Hanger podcast Zoom that everyone can use, and they can use that to schedule, with the other person. But then we're like, well, why can't someone just use their own Zoom? It's not like the quality changes, if you use a corporate Zoom versus a regular one, right? They're not any different. But I don't know, is that the best, the easiest option? Because everyone's pretty familiar with Zoom. I feel like at this point in the last couple of years, everyone has kind of, gone to Zoom. OBS isn't necessarily, it's not the recording platform. It's just the visual component to make your visuals look better. But again, that would be for somebody that's taking that next level. That's not just gonna be someone walking in and just, plugging in and recording, right?
Yeah.
I would be using that, but it'd be set. I would just put my profile over and loop it in, and it's done. Because it saves editing time later. I'm not, we're not have to go back through it. I have a 2-hour podcast. No one's gonna have to go back through and like edit it. But yeah, I don't know.
So Zoom, I think, is great. I think what I usually recommend to people is Zoom is awesome because you can go through, just make sure when you're using Zoom, go into your settings, make sure that 1080p video is selected. Make sure that just like we did together before we did like the work that we did with Aflac, make sure that your recording settings are recording each speaker in speaker view, in gallery view. Make sure that you download like the individual audios. Like, there's a lot of settings that you need to go into Zoom and make sure that they're selected. I personally, even if I'm just recording, I really like StreamYard. I think StreamYard is really great. It's a great service. I've been using it for the last few years now. And I like it because you can do a lot of the post-production things during the actual conversation. Like you and I, we've been going from this view, we've been going to this view. You can do your own backdrop here, like to Be Better. You can put any picture you want there. Go on Fiverr.com and you can get someone to make one for you. Go back to this. And sometimes when I ask people a question on an interview, there's literally a button that allows me to showcase the speaker like this. Which is, it's cool because normally people are doing that in the editing process, but I literally do all of that during the conversation with people.
Yeah.
If I'm recording it With several cameras, I would probably recommend Zoom with several cameras because you can get a switcher. Like there's a, let's see if I can find, what's it called? It's called like the Magic, let's see, Magic Switcher. Oh, it's called the Black Magic Switcher. Let's see. Yeah, I think this is it right here. Black Magic Design. Yep, this is it right here. So let me share my screen. This is really cool because this is what a lot of like professional podcasters do, where they have the camera angles that switch, like Joe Rogan show. They just have one of these switchers like this, and you can literally make it so the camera, if it's an in-person interview, if you're recording on Zoom, you can make it so the camera angle automatically switches based on who's speaking. You can tap the 1, the 2, the 3. You can just tap it to switch back and forth between them. This is called the Blackmagic Design A10 Mini. And you can also just do the normal ATEM if you want, which is just more options. I don't use one of these yet because I'm not an in-person podcast and I don't have two cameras. But once I do, then you don't need this. Like you could just do that editing after the fact. But if you're doing a live in-person show, then you still have the ambiance of a post-production experience, even during a live show itself, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. And I've seen a couple different ones like that that people can use, even just using their computers. They can toggle back and forth a lot easier, which I think is great. Now, so StreamYard, you can use that without necessarily having to go live then. You can just use that just normally. Okay, that's good to know then, because I don't use StreamYard except for on somebody else's show.
Yeah.
And I like, you're backstage, that sort of thing. I know there was a podcast I did with, I cannot think of his name. I can see his face.
Matt Wolf?
No. We did that one recently. I did one with Ben recently. No, it was one I did a few months ago. It's Behind the Bar podcast.
Oh, okay.
I cannot think of who his
I haven't heard of that one.
He's going to yell at me because let's see. Behind the Bar.
Noah Rothbaum? Oh no, that's Life Behind Bars.
That's not right.
It's a little different. Oh, Samar.
I want to say it's like Shane. He's gonna kill me.
We'll add his name in here afterwards as
right.
As like a robot voice.
Is this literally gonna?
There's a lot of Behind the Bar podcasts actually, which is interesting. There's a motorcycle one, Behind the Bars.
Yeah, there's the Behind the Bars. Sean Murphy.
Oh, okay.
I'm so sorry, Sean.
I've heard of him.
So his podcast, let me see what the heck was called. He has like 2 profiles. Well, anyway, I was on with Sean, sorry. And he does like, I just loved his Above the Bar.
That's why we couldn't find
Above
him.
the Bar podcast. Yeah, I loved doing the show with him. Like he just a really great personality, and we just had a really great time. But his editing and everything that he did for that was really great. Like I everything was done. So kind of like how yours is now, right? Like it had everything kind of set up already. So, I got to see that it wasn't like it was after the fact, that it went up there. And I just really liked that, and it had, there was like a ongoing verbiage, like at the bottom, like Matt Wolf had that too, which I really like. And it was just super interesting because I've been on so many podcasts, right? And you get different flavors and like the equipment is all different. Like I've been on a podcast where I was like, the video is terrible from like the other person or whatever. And I'm like, I know you're trying to, lift this off, but just, use Zoom, like go buy a 30, like literally the camera I have right now, I think was like
perfect.
$25, right? And it's perfect. The quality is great. The Canon one I've heard from, a couple people that are in the podcast arena that's like a good one. And we've talked about So LinkedIn, I don't know who the LinkedIn user is, but they're like, Sean. Yes, that's who it
I
is.
think it's
It's Sean.
Miranda Von
I
Fricken.
could not remember him. I'm so sorry, Sean. Um, it's been a while since I talked to him. Yeah, we talked about having 2 cameras in the room too. So my one partner is pretty keen on like, oh, we need 2 cameras, but I don't think it's always necessary to have two
Yeah,
cameras, especially if it's just you. You don't need multiple views. And even when you're interviewing somebody, right? Like I think if the camera is in a good spot where you can see both people, I don't know if it's necessarily needed to have both of those cameras. So, but like you were saying, to have the toggles. So if somebody's talking, you can have the camera just focus on that person, right? So as it's being recorded, you can see kind of both of us, or like how it just went to that one screen, you see the one person talking. So,
yep,
and I'm sure, 6 months from now, we'll be like, oh, well, here's what we're doing, and here's how we changed the process, and here's what we've learned, and here's what we
exactly.
upgraded.
Like I started with a webcam and literally a gray curtain behind me, and that's what it was. And people watched it, and it sounded good. And that's all you need is literally. If I was starting a podcast that wasn't in Hanger Coworks, and you could do that here too, I would literally have a Blue Yeti microphone. I would invest $100 or so because it's really good, and I would get a Logitech webcam or a webcam just like you have, Christine. That's literally all you need. There's one piece of software, and then I want to show you StreamYard too. There's a couple things you can do with it that are pretty cool because it's really simple. There's one piece of software that you absolutely need if you're doing a podcast, because a lot of people wonder, like, how do I take the video or the audio and how do I send it to all the different platforms? And the answer is literally one word. Technically it's 2 words, but the brand is one word. It's Buzzsprout. Have you heard of Buzzsprout?
Yeah.
Okay. It's absolutely incredible. Highly recommend it. So literally, guys, go to buzzsprout.com. Okay. And literally it shows you all your episodes. Okay. It shows you how many downloads from the actual podcast platforms. So Bill McCormick actually just asked the question, how many people will watch a podcast versus only listen when both options present themselves? I'm going to answer that, Bill, because that's a really good question. But Buzzsprout's great because literally I can go on here. The first thing that you do is you set up your show, right? You upload your artwork, you name the show. And if you have many shows, like for you producing podcasts, you just click up here and you can create a new podcast. You can switch between them. I literally pay $24 a month, as you can see. And what this does is you upload your episode by dragging the file. You can upload the video or the audio file, and then you go to directories. Okay, and you do this one time. You literally set up your podcast on each of the directories. If you, as an example, Apple Podcast is like the biggest one for me because that's what I marketed on mostly for the audio only. It literally shows you how to copy it's called an RSS feed. I don't even know what that stands for, but don't let the terminology guys scare you. Literally copy this and you submit it to Apple. It gives you all the links to do. It gives you a step-by-step of how to add it. And within 25 minutes, you'll have submitted your podcast to each of these platforms. Okay. Once it's there, it's there. Then when you go to episodes, you upload a new episode, you schedule when the episode's going to be, you write a description for it, and it literally sends it to each of the platforms. It's literally the easiest thing. There's actually also something you can get extra, which I pay for. I don't really know what difference it makes because I've always paid for it, but it's when you listen. So this kind of goes along with what you asked, Bill. When you listen to a podcast, it might sound better than the video version because some people have this. It's called magic mastering, and it literally it levels your audio for you, and it just optimizes the sound of the audio in the video. I think I pay. Yeah, it's right here. I pay an extra $12 a month for this. So I pay about $35 a month for Buzzsprout, and I think I pay $250 a year for StreamYard. I think Zoom is the same price if you wanted to use Zoom for like the 1080p video. But Buzzsprout, Christine, is I don't even know of any others that have this service, but my friend Chase from the Garage Boozing podcast, which is very different than my show, but very fun, all in the same. He uses this and he recommended it to me, and it's a really good software.
The only so Anchor, I think, does the same thing. I'm not sure. Like literally, you would do the same thing. You build your profile, on Anchor, and then you can pick which places that it goes to. Once those places are, you have to be like approved to submit it to all those other places. But I know Anchor, I think, does the same thing. I don't know what the cost difference is. I don't know what the usability
I think
difference
it's
is.
free, and then you can get like the extra things if you want them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. The
Yeah.
only thing I can say is I'm pretty sure Anchor, when you upload everything, it automatically shoots it to all the places that you wanted to go. You're not having to individually go through and submit it.
Yep, this is the same thing. It's the same.
Oh, this does already do that? Oh, it looks like you
Yep.
had to go through each of those boxes.
One time, just like one time on Anchor, you have to submit it to each of the podcasts, like this right here.
Oh, okay. So
I
those are the
upload it,
places it
and it's
goes.
automatically there. Yeah,
Okay. Okay,
it
cool. So
happens
that's the same.
automatically. You can see your stats on here too. You can go to
Yeah.
stats. It'll show you like how many views you've gotten in the last 30 days. It'll show you your top where you're listed mostly. Again, this is just the audio version, but it shows you everything. It's a really good service. By the way, everyone listening, I will include and you'll do this too for all the people you produce, Christine. I will include the affiliate link for this. So literally, like, you will help me if you get Buzzsprout using this link, but I think it also gives you like a free month or something. So I'll include the link in the comments or in the description. And so that is an affiliate link. So thank you if you do that.
Cool.
But it's a great service. I've used it for over a year and a half. Is it cool if I show you something with StreamYard, just because I really like it. It's great if you're going live. It's great even if you're just recording. But in StreamYard, like, as you can see, this kind of goes along with the process that you asked about. I pre-create the link for each of my upcoming guests right here. And literally all you do is you just create a broadcast, new broadcast, and then you can hit record only, and then you just title it. So I'll just title it Christine Testing, create broadcast, and then it brings you into the broadcast studio. And then you literally choose what camera you want to use. You choose your audio settings, your display name. You enter the studio, and then here you are. So this, and then up here, you just hit record. And then you can record. The cool thing about this is, if I go back to the main StreamYard page, I can actually make it. I can hit create a broadcast and use a pre-recorded video to quote unquote go live with a video that I've already recorded. I've only done it like once or twice, and I always let people know in the description that, hey, this isn't actually live. Yeah. But some of those videos actually get more engagement than the ones that are live, because they're actually scheduled ahead of time. Right. So you can do a lot of cool things with it. You just literally connect your destinations one time. I just have my YouTube, and I guess I have Twitter selected too, but I don't ever go live there. But it's just a really cool software, and literally it saves all your past videos. You can download them all. It's just, it's really convenient. I really like StreamYard.
Yeah, convenience is the goal. Convenience, efficiency, and I think that's probably, obviously you probably know me better than some of the people that are listening right now. I'm a very precise person, and I want the answer of how do I make this as seamless as possible, even though I don't have all the answers. And that's why it's been so hard to try and make these decisions.
Yeah, totally. Before I show one thing that I want to answer Bill McCormick's question, but it's going to branch off into its own thing. We covered Buzzsprout. We covered StreamYard. We talked about the microphones you can use. We talked about the camera to use. What else is there? Anything else burning in your mind where you'd like to ask it now?
No, I mean, I think that answers most of my questions. I would say the only other thing that might come up, and it probably wouldn't be with us, but people might have the questions of, they're doing their own thing. They might want to know editing. So what are you using for editing after the fact?
A human being.
Yeah.
Someone else. Yeah, I don't personally edit it. So literally the cool thing is, with one of my broadcasts, I don't, even my guy doesn't really have to edit anything, because since we do all the view switching inside of StreamYard, it's literally already edited before you do it. Some people go through, like my friend Chase, his is a very risque show compared to this. He's swearing, he talks about very controversial things. So he does go through afterwards, and he heavily edits the crap out of each episode. But, guys, don't, it's going to sound like easier said than done, but I would just keep things in. Like, don't
Yeah.
worry so much about editing every single word. Like, just get it out there. Some people worry so much about what things look like, what things sound like. Obviously, you want it to be on brand, but I talk about this all the time. Perfection's the enemy of execution. Don't worry about it being perfect. Just put it out there and just start even with one take. Like, but I personally, I use a MacBook, so I do use iMovie for editing. But my guy, Errol, takes all the videos and he turns them into clips. He
Right.
adds subtitles to them. One thing I will say to people who want to do this themselves is when it comes to creating clips from your videos, I recommend this service. I've been using it for a long time. It's a small business. And the guy who owns it, his name is Craig. He's becoming much larger than a small business now. It's really blowing up. But it's called Clip Scribe. And it's so inexpensive. Like, I pay for the entire year up front. And let's see if it shows the yearly amount here. It's literally, yeah, right here. You can get a year of this for $100. Like, that's actually I use the normal starter plan. I think I use starter, maybe pro, but it's $100 a year. It lets you upload the entire video and it turns it into clips. You can choose what parts you want to make a clip of. And then it adds subtitles that are automatically generated for you. You just go through and actually edit the subtitles to make sure that it's accurate. So I really like this software if you're going to be creating clips and subtitles, Christine. I think it's one of the best ones out there.
Yeah, so perfect for like reels.
Yes, that's how okay, so let's talk about that now. So the process is you'll make the podcast, but just making it, I mean, you're a marketing wizard. You know this, but for those listening, making it, if you build it, they will not come, right? If you start recording, they're just not going to show up just because you created a podcast. There's millions and millions and millions of podcasts out there. So you have to market the podcast. You do that by uploading it to Buzzsprout. It'll go to Apple. It'll go to Spotify. It'll go to all those things. And they do have an algorithm that will help you market your podcast. Okay. However, what I recommend, and I bias because I started with YouTube. I really love YouTube. Literally, I would upload all of your podcasts to YouTube, guys. So let's go to YouTube real quick. I'll give you like a behind the curtain view. So every month or so, I'll get at least 2,500 views on my videos. And listen, some people watching this might be like, "Oh, I follow channels that get thousands of views per video." Well, first of all, you got to start somewhere. But something really important, and James West actually said this recently. He said, "How many clients do you really need?" Right? If you think about why are you making a podcast, you're not just making a podcast to make a podcast. You're doing it to impact lives, but also to make money. All right, those are the two main reasons you're doing this. You do that by, you don't need the world's most amount of views here. So I'll get 2,500 views roughly every month. It grows 90 watch hours. But if you go to content here, all right, some of the most viewed and engaged with content on my page are shorts, reels, and TikToks, like you were saying, Christine. Literally, ClipScribe will help you create videos just like this. Let me turn the volume off here. There we go. So literally, ClipScribe will help you create reels like this. My guy, Errol, he adds B-roll to it, so it's not just me talking the entire time. By the way, if you want B-roll, guys, the best place for B-roll is Storyblocks. It's inexpensive. You get unlimited access to as much video B-roll as you want. It's high-quality B-roll. And my guy just edits that into there where it makes sense to do so. But start posting shorts. Like if you go back to my analytics here, when you're posting it, this is probably one of the best ways to market your content right now is TikTok and shorts. And to avoid sounding like Gary Vee, I'm not going to go into how many TikToks you create and all that stuff. I literally just started that. But YouTube shorts are the same thing. Like if you look, some of my videos get, 21 views per episode in the first week or so, 20, some will get more, 130. But shorts, they get a ton because that's what YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram wants right now. So I just posted this yesterday, 156 views, 257. And then it links people to the full episode where they can go watch the full video. It's probably, and this is free. Like YouTube is free, Instagram free, TikTok is free. Like post your stuff here and then share it. Share it on your network. Share it on your LinkedIn. Let people know that you've started a show. Get people excited. Engage with people. But Bill, I hope this answers your question. Most of my audience watches the show only because I started on YouTube and that's where I push most of the traffic is YouTube. but everyone's different. Like I listen to podcasts when I'm at the gym, but I'll watch it if I'm, this sounds bad, but if I'm in the car driving, I'll put it on my mount in my car and I'll look up every now and then just to see what's going on. So it depends on the person, but use both. Like don't just
Yeah.
optimize for one, use both of them. Take advantage.
Yeah, I plan on doing both, but I've always been curious about that. But I think it just depends on the podcast, right? Like, and what they're talking about. If there's any visuals or anything like that, I think that does make a difference. And sometimes some people are very entertaining to watch too. So, if you're the type of person that makes a lot of interesting faces, or you're very visual with your hands, or you have
Yeah.
a really goofy laugh that requires some visual looks, then better.
You got to see him make the goofy laugh. It makes it even better.
Yeah, who knows, right? Like, I plan on doing video just because it's easier, but
Yeah. Plus you have purple hair. So, I mean, you got to let people see that,
yeah, exactly.
So, I think one of the biggest questions people are going to have is the editing after the fact. And I know we talked about it very quickly, but guys, don't get caught up in the editing. Use iMovie. If you're using a PC, like download like Audacity, use some free software just to trim out what you don't need. But if you're looking for like a podcast opener, if you're looking for like, like the assets of a podcast, like someone to create thumbnails for you, someone to create the opening 10 seconds of welcome to this podcast, then literally the site that I recommend to everybody, and a lot of people don't know about this, which blows my mind, is Fiverr.com. It's the greatest. It's the best. Literally search for what you want. It's just like Upwork, except it's even cheaper for things on here. And sometimes when I say cheaper, it is really quality-wise cheaper, but there are inexpensive options that are really good. You just got to find the right people. So as an example, if you want someone to edit your podcast for you, if you have more money than time, then literally type in edit podcast. First, go through Christine, right? Especially once Christine's got the podcast production underway. I know Flight already does this. So you can go through an agency like Flight Creative, or you can go on Fiverr and literally for 15 minutes of podcast editing, it's $20, $30 for 30 minutes, or $40 for an hour. So when I started my YouTube channel, I used to have people edit my videos for me. I paid $40 a video. I used to have a thumbnail created for me. You can literally type in thumbnail, and you find thousands of people who create really good looking thumbnails, and sometimes it's only $10 for a thumbnail. So if you have the time to do all these things yourself, by all means do it. I didn't have the time because I was working a full-time job, and so find other people to do the work for you is my recommendation. And I know that Flight can do that same thing. Is there anything we missed, Christine, or did this answer most of the questions? We can always do it again, but
The only question I had is, so you brought up the opener. So I've definitely done podcasts with people who had an opener. So you're using StreamYard, right? So if you're using StreamYard, how would you loop in the opener before?
Oh, great question. So let me actually show you. So if I share this, I'll go back to StreamYard. I'll go back to the testing one that we just created. So now I'm in the StreamYard like place here. Okay, right. I'm in the whatever you want to call it, the desktop of it. You can go over here to comments, right? You can go to banners, which lets you put things on the bottom that scrolls across the bottom.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Which is cool because I don't usually use them because I don't know, but you can. But let me get rid of that. But I go to brand, and you can upload video clips into StreamYard. So like I used to have a 2-minute countdown here, which is really loud. Sorry for that. And I like what you guys saw at the beginning. When I want to show my intro, I'll hit go live, and it has like a second lag time. So I'll wait a second, and then I'll hit podcast intro video like this.
Oh, okay. That's
which
great.
Goes through the intro, and then it ends automatically. And that's when I jump in and say, welcome to the Be Better broadcast. We're here today with, whoever. And that's how I do it. You can upload stuff right into there, which is cool. StreamYard is very much a really useful live production. It makes it easy.
I definitely think it's, I just feel like that's way better than Zoom. Because Zoom, you would have to do those things after. Like those things would have to be added in after the fact. And if we're trying to get that plug and play, and I'm looking at it from a time perspective, right? Like one of the biggest things I get from clients, even on the marketing side, is, how do we do this without taking as much time, right? So I'm glad that you went through some of these other programs. Who knows? Flight can use some of these things too, just to be more efficient.
Yeah.
But for people who don't have the ability to hire out, I think some of these things are just really fantastic options.
Yeah, if you have more time, guys, do it yourself. If you've got the money, use Fiverr. Or if you really have the money and you want really high quality, then hire an agency to help you do these things. That's my recommendation. But guys, just don't let this overwhelm you. It took me 2 years to get to the point where I'm using these different tools. I have a video guy that helps me edit things. Like, just begin, get the webcam, get the Blue Yeti, and just talk into the microphone and post the episode and just start, because you'll get better and better and better as you go along.
Yeah.
This was fun, Christine. I'm glad that we did this.
Yeah, I'm glad that we recorded it.
Hey, yeah, we had a nice little audience with us, and I hope that it helped you guys too. Guys, I'll put links to StreamYard and Buzzsprout in the description because it helps me when you use them, but it'll also get you something. I think you get like a free month, or you get like an Amazon gift card or something like that. So I'll link those in case you want to start up and use these for yourself. Sweet. Christine, great talking to you.
Yeah, I'll see you later.
Let me know what other questions you have as you go through the process.
Yeah, of course. I'll definitely text you pictures and be like, I don't know what to do.